cookie!
I really thought my last video was just gonna be a one-off fun little project that I could just be done with and never touch again. But here I am, I guess, doing a sequel. This video's format will be similar to my previous one, going from most to least edible, basing mostly on the cookie's inspiration, story, design, etc. However, I'll be placing all these super epics, legendaries, and ancients at the very end, because for some reason this game felt the need to add a dozen more rarities for little to no reason. Also, I won't count any collab cookies, like how I excluded Hello Kitty in Oven Break. Since I won't be going over the cookies I've already covered in the Oven Break video, here are all of them for any of you interested. This little group includes every single common, 12 out of 14 rares, almost half of all epics, 1 super epic, 50% of all legendaries, and a dragon, which eliminates almost half of all the playable cookies, 48%. Also, here's a pie chart of the group I just mentioned. And that leaves us with 65 cookies. So much for me having to do 200 for the last video. First is a bunch of plant-based cookies, 9 to be specific. Besides that, I originally wanted to separate the rest into smaller groups, but since there aren't that many cookies to go over, I'll just list the ones that require explanations first, then speed through the rest. Caramel Chew, her name in Korean is Saint Honore, and that is actually a type of cake, surprisingly enough. Caramel Arrow, in Korean her name is Brown Sugar Cookie. Actually, I don't know why I even had to explain this one. Milky Way. According to a developer commentary, she's made from milk cream and star jellies. Schwarzwälder is just a part of a German word for black forest cake. Fruit jellyfish may be based on the moon jellyfish, which are safe to eat. Burnt cheese. His name in Korean translates to Basque cheese cookie, and Basque cheese is actually a real dish. Street urchin cookie is just urchin cookie in Korean. And after that, we have avocado, butter roll, creme brulee, crunchy chip, custard cookie the third, cream ferret, eclair, financier, queen amman, linzer, madeleine, parfait, pumpkin pie, red velvet, strawberry crepe, tart tatin, twizzly gummy, espresso, latte, tea night, Captain Caviar, mozzarella, and royal margarine. Pastry cookie. At first, I skipped over her pretty easily until I realized that her actual name is not pastry cookie, and we don't know what her original ingredients were. Could be poison for all we know. Cloud Hate, I cannot for the life of me find any traces of what this little lion thingy is made out of. The best I've got is that they may have something to do with cinnamon rolls or some type of roll, judging from their design and the fact that one of their quotes mentioned steamed rolls. Wildberry, 2 words, is a generic term used to describe any undomesticated, usually edible, berry. I won't lie when I said I tried my best to figure out the exact type of berry Wildberry was, but it only led me back to, you'll never guess this, raspberries. There's also this plant that's called Wildberry, spelled as one word, but I'm not convinced. Icicle Yeti here is made from regular icicles, presumably, but if this is magical icicles, then might as well pray that these icicles don't puncture your guts. Now we're getting into the actually dangerous ones. Candy Diver. I'll say it right now, their diving suit is just a gumball machine. Like, that has to be glass, right? Additionally, they're a ghost. There's no body, it's just a possessed suit. Cotton cookie. Cotton balls aren't edible because they're really hard to digest. Only cotton seed oil are used by human. Despite that though, the cotton seed has to first have the toxic compound removed before it should be processed into oil or ingested. You know, at first I ignored fettuccine cookie quite quickly and I skipped through her thinking that she was edible, until I realized she was wrapped with stale pasta, which, you know, it's stale. Don't eat it. Mercurial Knight. It's pretty obvious from his name that he's all mercury, and in case you live under a rock, mercury can kill you. And I'm not here to defend this cookie in any way, but there is something quite interesting related to this. His in-game description reads that he was blessed by silver and he has mastered the art of amalgamation. So naturally, I looked up mercury-silver amalgamation, And I found something called dental amalgam that's made with mercury and silver. This was often used to fill a bunch of holes in your teeth. And of course, this thing was hella controversial. Supporters claimed that it is safe, while others are concerned over mercury poisoning. Regardless, it has been banned in many places. So there you go, just a fun little thing I wanted to share. Silver bell is actually a type of flower, and after looking up this one type of silver bell, turns out only the fruits are edible and not the flower. But it gets a little bit more interesting when I looked up his Korean name. Guess what it led me to? Lily of the valley, which are poisonous. Although green pine cones can be eaten, this little fella more or less resembles mature pine cones, so no. However, I can't say for sure whether or not the mature pine cones are poisonous because different sources give me mixed results, and moreover, I'm not a botanist. Corals aren't edible. End of story. And here lies the category for the special cookies. Clotted cream, oyster, and sherbet are all obviously food, from their name alone. Capsaicin would be rather simple to sort if he was just capsaicin, which, if you didn't know, is the chemical that gives peppers their spiciness. However, Capsaicin Cookie here has ties to magma in his design, as well as his skill. So similar to Fire Spirit, this one's a no. As part of the Gem Mermaid, her name is based on a gem called the Red Coral. Hi, so I didn't do enough research, and turns out the Red Coral gem is made from actual red coral, which we've discussed before is not edible. Again, I don't know enough about the story to make any concrete judgments. Stardust. Like most other high-rarity cookies, devs really focused a lot more on their mystical and magical powers and world-building, rather than bothering themselves with listing any realistic ingredient. Since he is supposed to have a similar component to Moonlight, this one's an unknown. I'll be honest, I spent half an hour sifting through the legendary stories, wholeheartedly expecting to give them anything besides a big old no for all free, but I was utterly disappointed. But basically, should you attempt to consume them, please consider pearls aren't digestible, plus she's corrupted. Similar to Icicle Yeti, plus she can spawn icicles. Yikes. It only takes about 0.1 to 0.2 amps to kill a human. For reference, that may not even be enough to power a light bulb. On the contrary, a single lightning flash can produce about 30,000 amps. So pure vanilla is actually a little bit interesting. Fun fact, vanilla extract may contain up to 35% alcohol by volume, which is about as strong as a shot of vodka. Yeah, that's why people don't straight up eat the beans, but rather they infuse it to dilute the concentration. And also, according to PV's story, it seems like he was just made with a vanilla bean. Assuming that the result we see is just like any ordinary vanilla cookie, then it's perfectly safe. Hollow berries are poisonous. Also not much to say here actually. He'd just be really, really bitter. Golden cheese is probably just cheese, and the golden part is probably not literal gold. Even then, people do eat gold leaves. Since we can't actually digest them, they just go out the other way. No harm done there. White lily, yeah, here we go again. You know how much I struggle with anything lily related. But luckily for me, the Kingdom Wiki have way better sources and research. White lily could be based on the Madonna lily, and they are used in cooking. They're only dangerous to cats though. I don't know. Firstly, if she is actually mostly just flour, then in cookie form, yes, she is totally edible. But since she has a lot of elements related to religion and magic, I'm not even gonna try to fathom something that I barely even understand. And that's all of them. Oh, that was quick. Oh, before you go, just a heads up that I will be off YouTube for a while to focus on university stuff. Also, my next video may be about Tears of Themis, if you even know what that is. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've learned something new, and I guess I'll see you later. Bye-bye!